Good morning. Welcome to another session on environmental impact assessment.
So we shall continue with Unit 2, Methodologies, Course Outcome, elucidate the methods of EAA with case studies, learning outcome, discuss the methods used in EAA, specific outcomes, list the methods that are used in EAA, and explanation of the ad hoc method alone. Right, so we'll be seeing only the ad hoc method in this session. So this unit basically deals with the different methods that are used in EAA, as I have told in the previous session itself. So what are some of the methods that are being used for the purpose of EAA? So the first one is ad hoc method. I'll just give a brief, maybe a short explanation of each of these methods, and we'll be looking at each of the methods in a little more, elaborate way in the coming sessions. So ad hoc method, you might have heard of this word ad hoc. Ad hoc, ad hoc actually really means like it is like something like a temporary post, ad hoc professor or ad hoc, you know, um, employee. Ad hoc professor means he is only there for some particular temporary, time, and when they get a permanent uh, professor or permanent employee or permanent student or something like that, they'll replace that with the temporary professor or temporary employee. So that is the meaning of ad hoc. It is for just for a short duration. Somebody is being posted for a particular job, right? So here what we like to say is that this ad hoc method is like a very crude method, right? So it's just a crude method of evaluating something, right? So that is what ad hoc method is all about. Checklist method. In case of checklist method, we have a checklist, and based on the checklist we try to evaluate the impacts, right? Checklist, I think you might have heard what checklist is. To say a simple explanation of checklist, when you're going to go to the market, or go to the grocery shop, you have a checklist, right? And after going to the shop, you purchase some things, and then you go and tick those things. When you're there in the shop itself, you will tick out those things which you already taken from the shop and which are still pending. So that is a checklist, right? So that is one of the methods that is being used in EAA. We will see what that method is and what are the categories of checklists when we go to that particular topic in detail. Matrices methods, you know what a matrix is. It's like uh, column of rows and sorry, it's a table of rows and columns, right? That's a matrix. So here also what they do is they have a table of rows and columns, and they have the factors in the project, right, in the first column, and they have the impacts on the uh, on the top of each column, right? So a particular factor is being affected. So we see that in which phase of this project that particular factor is going to be affected, right? So imagine a table of rows and columns, again sorry, a table of rows and columns, and assuming that in the first column you have got a list of components like air, water, land, animals, human beings, right, etc. So you have got all those parameters on the first column, right? And on the first row, right, on the first row you have got some parameters or some components. What is that? The pre-construction phase, the construction phase, execution phase, the decommissioning phase, right? So these are some of the components which are mentioned in the first row, right? And in the first column you got the parameters. So what you do is you go and take out which component of the environmental parameters getting affected in which stage. Maybe during the pre-construction phase there is a lot of effect on the environment in terms of air pollution. Maybe during the construction phase there is a lot of impact on the water. Maybe in the decommissioning stage there is a lot of impact on the land, or something like that. So this is just a crude explanation or a simple explanation of what that matrices method means. So we'll go into detail when we go into that particular topic. Network methods. Network methods. You know what a network is, right? Network is a relationship between so many components, right? You might have seen a network, right? Especially the triple students and easy students, or maybe even IT. You might have seen IT students. You might have seen some network, right? You have networks. So network is nothing but you have some components which are being linked, right? There may be a one-to-one relationship, there may be one-to-many relationship in a network, and so on and so forth. So here what they do is we have some particular parameter. For example, air may be linked with so many phases of the project. You've got water may be linked with so many phases. You got land may be linked with so many phases. That is one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at the network method is, um, for example, you have some process in an industry. The first process you got, the first step, you got something like, assuming it's like a paper industry, you are getting the paper from somewhere, uh, and then I mean, not getting the paper, you're getting some materials from somewhere, and then the second stage will be to prepare some pulp. The third stage will be to dry it out and something like that. So all those stages are there. So each of these stages, what are the parameters that are getting affected? So that is another way of looking at a network. So there are various ways of looking at a network method. So these are some ways which I have told now, right? I have just shared about one or two methods of how to see how a network method is used in environmental impact assessment. Overlay methods. Overlay methods is like, you are overlaying one layer on another top of another layer, right? So in you might have heard this topic called geographic information system. I don't know how many of you heard this geographic information system. So it is in short called GIS, geographic information system. So in this, what they do is, uh, for example, they want to find out some particular recharge zones, right? You want to find out where you can recharge the groundwater. So it has to be done on a spatial manner. Why? Because I cannot go to every location in Polachi and find out where the well is, and how to recharge it and all those things. It's a very difficult task. I don't know what is the depth of the water level in the well. So to avoid all these things, what I'll do is I'll get a map where you got the location of all the wells, right? I'll get a map uh, showing the elevation points. Elevation meaning how the surface's topography is going down, going up. I'll get that one. I'll get a map which gives the details about all the soil types in Polachi, uh, and then I will get a map indicating the groundwater level, existing groundwater level in all the locations in Polachi, so on, right? So I may get all these 3 or 4 layers. So assuming that each of those maps is a layer, so you overlay one layer on another layer, right? You overlay one layer on another layer. Why? Because simply just knowing where the wells are there, you may not know how to recharge it. You'll have to know what is the soil type. For example, well may be there, but surrounding that those wells may be rocks, so water is not going to penetrate into the aquifer or the regions below that surface, top surface. Water will not go down. So you need to know where those what are the type of soil which are located near the wells. So that is why we have taken the soil map. We need to know the topography. We need to know whether the elevation is going to be a flat elevation or it is going sloping down. So if it is sloping down, you simply just recharging that zone. It's not going to be of any use. Why? Because water is going to go down the slope. So something like that. So you'll have to get all these layers, overlay, and then when you overlay all these maps, then you will be able to find out where is the best recharge location for a particular locality. So that is that is a simple explanation of what overlay method means. So that is not there in your syllabus, right? Your syllabus talks about only about ad hoc, checklists, matrices, and network. But just to give you a brief idea about each of these methods, I'm just going through each one of them. Environmental index using factor analysis. This is a little more detailed analysis, or a little more you know advanced, and I will not discuss that over here. Cost benefit analysis. You evaluate some things based on benefits and in terms of cost. So when you go for a costly process, right, you may get some more benefits, but you'll have to spend a lot of money. When you don't spend so much money, right, you are not availing some of the benefits. So you'll have to make a trade-off, or what to say, you have to balance the cost and benefit. So what they do is, in this method or in this analysis, what they do is they try to list out all the benefits, and then they try to list out what are the cost that is going to be incurred in each stage of the project, and then they make a balance between the cost and the benefits, and they really decide whether this project should be sanctioned or not. So that is cost benefit analysis. Anyway, the first 3 or 4 methods are much more better when compared to the cost benefit analysis. So probably they'll choose the first 3 or 4 methods, and the last one is predictive or simulation methods. And I hope you know what simulation is. You might have done a lot of simulations in MATLAB or any other software. So we are going to do some prediction on what type of impacts will happen. For example, you take some dam construction. So there are some softwares where you can construct a dam, and then you can see, if the level of water in the dam goes beyond such level, what stream side, whether it is going to be flooding or the dam is going to break, or what will be the effect. So those type of things can be seen using the predictive simulation method. So let us stop this session over here, and we'll continue with elaborate explanation on each of these methods in the next session. Thank you.
Thus, we come to the end of this session. Thank you for your participation. Looking forward to meeting you in the next session.